Hi everyone, welcome to Knitting Noodles. And today's video, I've decided that it's finally time. We're gonna do it today. We're gonna learn how to do the purl stitch, which honestly with knit and purl, the whole world of knitting is open to you. You can basically make anything if you know how to knit and you know how to purl. And then I'm gonna show you how to purl, and then next week I'm gonna show you where you can find some really good free patterns and how to read them, knowing the knit stitch and the purl stitch. So let's get into learning how to purl. So to learn how to do a purl stitch, we're gonna need is needles and yarn. Doesn't really matter what size, what yarn, because we're just learning how to do a stitch. So let's make a slip knot. I don't want the tail too long. I'm just gonna cast on a few stitches. Let's say 10 stitches, just so we can get comfortable with the purl stitch. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Alright, so I'm going to show you something super cool. So the first thing I'm going to do is I am going to knit 5 rows. So I'll come back with 5 rows. Okay, I knit 5 rows. Now this is where the cool part comes in. We're going to learn how to do the purl stitch. So if you want to do this cool little interesting, I guess, first experiment with different knitting stitches, what I'd say is knit a few rows, like just regular knitting, before you start doing the purl stitch. And you'll see once I finish this row and I keep purling, you'll see how cool it looks, because you can literally see where you switch from knitting to purling. Alright, so for how to purl. For knitting, we go through the front, through the back. For purling, we're going to take our needles, we're going to go from the top, cross in front, so from the top, cross in front. We're going to take the yarn in front of the needle, drop it over, and we're going to scoop it through and slide it off the needle. So again, from the top, so basically you want your needles, if it helps you to put them up and poke it through that way, go ahead and do that. You poke it through the top into the front loop. You're going to take the working yarn still attached to the ball, and take that up and over, scoop it through, pop it off the needle. And we're just going to continue like that across the 10 stitches. So through the top, cross, yarn over, pull it through, and off the needle. Now I can tell you from experience, this is just by feeling how much easier it is the right way how to purl. When I first learned, I for some reason didn't watch any videos. It's only recently that I found out this is way easier than what I had been doing. So I had been doing something weird like this, and I can tell you that that is so awkward, so hard. This is so much easier. The other way you do get similar results. It looks almost identical, if not completely identical. This is just so much easier on your wrists, so much easier on your fingers. So definitely purl this way. Don't make my mistakes and purl a weird, different way. Now when I turn this around, you can kind of see this is the beginning of stockinette stitch. And it's super duper cool. You can literally see where the row before was knit and this row was purl. And we'll get into different types of stitch patterns, but stockinette stitch is where you knit the front and purl the back, which is essentially what we just did. So there's a clear divide here. Now if we keep purling, so I'm gonna purl this row, and I will come back with another 5 rows, but this time of just purl. Okay, so I just purled 5 rows. Now this is super interesting. As you can see, before we started purling, before that little split divide, this is just knitting. And you can see that it's garter stitch, that is a whole bunch of bumps. And then this is where we knit 1 row and then we purled another row. For stockinette stitch, that's knitting the front, purling the back. And then we switched to just purling. So purl the front, purl the back. And if you look at it, it's identical to the knitting. So if you just decide to purl, it will look exactly as if you're just knitting. So if you do the stitches by themselves, they are basically identical. It is the combination of purling and knitting together that makes endless possibilities for what you can knit pattern-wise. You can make so many cool things. I will show you some images in a book and a few of my own samples showing different patterns of how you can combine knitting and purling together to make so many cool things. This right here is one example. It is a honeycomb stitch, and it basically is just the combination of different knits and purls. And just by combining them, you can make a cool pattern like this. I'll show you a sample that I knit. This is really cool. It looks like a basket weave type pattern. That's just with alternating knitting and purling. And there's this one where it looks like little hearts in there. So really, the only thing you really have to know and able to make super duper cool things with knitting is learning how to knit and purl and how to combine them. So you can make plenty of super cool things with just knitting or just purling, because by themselves they look the same. But it's the combination that you learn how to make super cool, amazing, make your own clothes, all that stuff is the combination of knitting and purling. So I hope this helped you with purling, and I hope I got you excited for future videos where I show you how to do different patterns and how to combine these knit and purl stitches in order how to make amazing things that make it look like you're a professional knitter, even though you might not be that professional. Like, I don't consider myself professional, but I made those things and I think they look pretty cool and they make me look pretty good. So I hope you enjoyed this, hope this helped, and I will see you all next week in the next video. Bye!